We're live. Awesome. Hey, everybody, my name's Sean Waters. I am stoked to be here with Chance Thompson, the founder of Viridescent, who's also a wisdom workshop. What's up, Fran? Um, Fun today. We're celebrating friendship. We're also celebrating the sense of community and collaboration that might take place between friends who are doing different but similar work. I'm excited to share Chance with you all. I may share my face, our smiles today. We're just off of a cool wisdom workshop session. We've been exploring positive emotions. I'm exploring love. Love's my word of the year, and it's coming up really big. And I love you, man. I love I love you. I love what you're doing. I'm gonna wax a little bit geeky that I think what you're doing with identity work and having people approach their experience in imaginative ways, particularly people who are doing beautiful but fatiguing change making work. And I guess props to you for taking a non-conventional path forward in your own altar business.
Mm.
Uh, I just turn it over to you and say that I appreciate you, and I'm excited to see where this conversation might go, and give you some opportunity to share more of what you're working on, what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Sean. It's good to be loved, certainly, and it's good to love. And I think I'll start with my word of the year too. Actually, it's just trust. Um,
Mm.
and trust and love kind of go together. For sure they do. If there's an infinity loop, well, they sit on each side of it,
Right.
right? I think. Um, you know. You mentioned change makers, right? Change makers are kind of the people that we serve or support, believe in. But honestly, I want to throw a lot of kudos and gratitude to you because a new frame has started its way into this Viriverse of ours, the world of um, I don't know, creativity, imagination, personal exploration, um, good make good makers. Uh,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
'cause,
But not just change makers, not people changing the status quo, but people that are doing good makers.
good makers. Yeah.
What's up,
Because
Joanna?
you mentioned our identity work. So the core of our experience in the Viraverse is that you discover this thing called your alter ego, right? Which is kind of alter to the status quo that shapes us. The idea being to give a person a moment of time to kind of question everything and choose, is this the right path? Could there be a shift? Now, do you need to blow up your life entirely like I did a little bit? Not necessarily lies, to be honest. Though I've seen it happen for a number and transformational experience, right? Uh,
Please
but
do not try this at home. We are
yes,
not giving advice or counsel. This is just two friends exploring the work that they're doing.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here to help you quit your job. Like, uh, no, because these things come with their own sort of trials and tribulations, right? And transformation. It depends on how we approach these things. But one of the things um, that I was experiencing, and when this journey began for me, when I found my alter ego, was 2020, right? Big moment for humanity. And so much of what I was feeling and concerned about back then was the state of the future because I was about to become a father, right? And I had just come out of an intense, like 5-year sprint of doing really transformational work in the face of trade shows. And I was burnt. I was burnt out, and that grew into frustration and concern and then fear and some things, right? And so the journey that has taken me on has from kind of through fear, from fear, through fear, into something very, very beautiful, something very spirited, something rooted in presence and appreciation for the beauty that exists in the world that we sometimes can't see through the things we're stuck in, right? And so that shift from change to good maker is kind of perfect because you talked about how change makers are doing like hard stuff, hard work. There's resistance, there's friction there. You're trying to change the status quo. You're trying to, help people save planet or vice versa or whatever. Well, that was the exact thing that burnt me out, right? And so the work for us is to help change makers become good makers, actually, I think, and return to a place of gratitude and joy and fun and playfulness, because doing good in the world should be all those things. It shouldn't be a slog, a grind, a point. Yeah. So go. Yes. All right. Let's challenge
Well,
her.
yeah. I mean, I guess we have one of the unspoken and sometimes spoken rules of our gatherings is that I won't should on you if you don't should on me. I'm not gonna like say you should do something. Um, and I don't know if we should on our experience either. I guess like it should be. I could say that it should be. I don't know. I almost want to table that, but I think it's interesting because getting into this, what it should or should not be, or what you should or should not be, or what I should or should not be, puts this whole other, like, it makes it harder for me to love you, makes it harder for me to love me, makes it harder for me to love
Mm-hmm.
what is arising. And
So
I hear you, like, we don't want to burn out if we're doing good work. Like, we want to stay in the game, especially as an artist, right? It's like this is an endurance race we're running. So I'm with you on that. I just want to be sensitive, I guess.
yeah, well, and what I would say is I think of the kind of phrasing absolutism, right? And should and shouldn't are fairly
Mm,
absolute. Mhm.
mm,
But I think it's also pretty easy to say it shouldn't be all fun all the time and it shouldn't be all hard all the time, right? And that's why like the symbol of the Viriverse is right, infinity, timeless, consistent, cataclysmic and up and down and all over the place. But you kind of return right to some sort of sense of like center and conviction and calm. And that's like for me, the move has been like the designer is my alter ego is kind of a thing I do, or the way I do life, do work, do the world, do play, whatever.
do
And
you do
do
you?
way I do you. Yes, that's right. Do me. Yeah, and the places that has taken me is into these various parts of myself, and we call those sub egos, right? So I have the grit rage. That one's intense, right? That one's a lot. That's. Should I tell the gristful rage to sit down and be quiet? No, right? I should let it speak, let it roar, listen to it, but be able to synthesize that into something a little bit more steady, right? And then there's the healing guard is another one, which is the more serene side. And where all that has gone to is this place, which is kind of brand new, and I think we're going to call it the transcendent ego. I think, and for me, it's the spirited serenity, which was moving from kind of anger, fear, frustration, but being able to find peace in nature, to now spirit, passion, love, optimism, positivity, and acceptance of whatever comes, because when you're able to do that, there's a much more serene way to be a part of the world, and it feels good to me. And I think so much of what people have said to us along the way as they experience the alter ego, as they travel into like our sustainable comics and the fun creative world thing, is like, wow, I just feel better.
Yeah.
And that is just feel good. I feel good, you know. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I want to pick up on, I think one of the cool overlaps here is the alter ego and the development and the cherishing of our capacity to create. Thanks, Gail. It's good to see you again. Um, our ability to create and construct an ego that works is a huge part of what the metaphor of the wisdom workshop as well. And what I love about how you're doing that by injecting creativity and imagination and also care with language, like in how you're talking about this, of thinking about good maker versus change maker and what that does to our brains when we're thinking about that. how that opens up our hearts. I guess I'm on somewhat of a I think a lot of the rhetoric around getting rid of our ego, or the Buddhist, the mistaken read that we should eliminate the ego because the ego causes suffering, is just not. We can't get rid of the ego. Like, the ego is part of our identification mechanism. Like, what we identify with is part of us. We
Mm.
can tweak the ego. And so instead of the ego being like, hey, so this is like, I can be more serene with my ego identification. I can
Mhm.
identify as someone who loves my friends. That's
Mm.
me. I can
Mhm.
identify as someone who is a reimaginer, which you helped me. That's the alter ego that we developed for me that helped me see, like, right, I am reimagining. And for me, imagining isn't this abstract thing. Like, I have to, in the studio, I have to actually record the thing to fully imagine it, right? Like, I have to build the course to fully, like, imagine what it could be. So I guess there's something really cool about what you're doing for people to help them imagine themselves in a new way, right? And so you have this. I guess I just want to give you some props on that, and a little curiosity there about how that's shifted for you from when you started, because you've been building out the Viriverse for 4 years.
5 years, 5 years, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. How does this, hey Joan, how does what you're doing with the harness your hero this next time you're going through the program, how's
Mm.
what you're doing now shifted from when you started helping people with this ego work?
So, shift is not quite the
Oh
right
yeah.
word. It it's, we've come full circle.
Mm,
There's circle moment happening, where I feel almost like we're starting from the beginning, but with all
mm,
that's been collected, and some of that is because so much of it has moved from me to we. Like, I am no longer the, like, only facilitator of our Harness Your Hero journey, or by performer, 'cause story that gets performed and all that. We hero guides that are training, and facilitating, and, it's just so much more rich, and I get to sit back and watch it happen. And so that's a radical thing, to be a part of, right? It's no longer something that, like, relies upon me to kind of push ahead on the trail, right? To be like the trail guide the whole way, rather to be a part of the experience, because the whole thing was to build a world together, new world, a new way of being, and um, you can't do that alone, or even with another person or two other people, right? It's a collective thing that starts to take on life. And um, I I was just watching this incredible series on Netflix with my 4 son, and it's called something like the Life on Our Earth, or in the history of the Earth, and seeing how life has risen and fallen, right? The extinction events, and just all the cooperation and it from it's just amazing, and it's really, I think, what, our the idea of being like a Viriverse is really the idea that, "Hey, everybody, we can build any world, we can grow any way that we want to together," right? And it's been a beautiful thing, and I think the other thing that I will say too that's kind of interesting, and this might be a shift, this one might be worthy of that term, is this idea of harness your right? Hero's a funny thing, right? When you think of ego, right?
yeah.
Well, what we've discovered is that, because it was born out of kind of my view that this community that I had grown into in the sustainable events industry, that all these change makers were heroes. I just like the reverence that I have for these people that I got the opportunity to work with. Yeah, harness your humility. Actually, funny enough, is something we played with. Um, and so it came from this kind of view that other people were heroes, and then though I had to wrestle with what do I about me? Am I a hero? Do I? And that was then tricky, right? And it's like, is this good ego, bad ego? Is there such a thing? Am I black and white? What am I doing here? And but what I've realized, and actually this brings us back to something you had kind of planted a seed, and here we're sprouting that seed right today, which is this idea of coming together, you and me, and talking about alter ego, like worshiping at the altar of the ego of sort, right? And that is so much what our alter ego work has been, is, and I think will continue to be, is a celebration of the goodness that lies within each of us,
Yeah.
and that we can find gratitude, pride, celebration in the things, but we have to do it for the sake of a collective, right? That me to we thing. It needs to be able to show up and be of service. I heard a wonderful story from a woman, an indigenous woman here, Maria Gladstone, opened up with a story about a tribe, and I can't remember which tribe she was speaking to. It was a historical tale that talking about how, like, the idea of a hero, that heroes in indigenous tribes are seen as people that are, like, supportive to the community. You're a hero because you help our collective, our we, right? And it's so wonderful, and I think um it's so important. It's so important with where does that ego get fed from? And do we give it good food or not good food? And I think the only way we can master ourselves is to be together and to show up and help each other.
There's so much good here. I'm thinking of Gail from the previous call, and she's like, "Don't say help. I don't fucking help me.
Yeah.
Don't help." And this when I was from a spinoff from that sensitivity to that frame, because there is like a, oh, let me help, that kind of introduces a hierarchy of like helper and helped,
Mhm.
right? And I was kind of like, I was sitting with that seeded something. Uh and the sensitivity to that language. And then I started noticing this word contribution. Whereas there's like enriching or contributing or feeding the whole in some way.
Mm.
And I think that is where, like, for me, one of the reasons I'm drawn to Buddhist thought or the analytic rigor of Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist psychology, is it's this idea that we are naturally interconnected. It's our selfish, limited grasping that causes us to suffer, right? When we, um, when we accurately see how intertwined we are with each other, like there's a natural like sense of service, I guess, and or the cooperation. So I put the eukaryotic cell reference in the sense of like the foundation of biological life was this radical cooperation between this like a what becomes the organelles in the cells that make up life was actually like this radical collaboration between an energy creator and a capacity to provide like a shell. So it's like
Yeah.
a shell meets energy, they come together, they create something new that wasn't there before. And this sense of like friendship and the work that you're doing, like how I see you as a visionary and a designer of these kinds of spaces where people can come together with the opportunity to create something new that wasn't there before, to do some good, I don't know, I feel like that sense of friendship and again, like a healthy ego or an imaginative, creative ego that sees itself connected and intertwined with ecology, with cultural sensitivity, with language sensitivity. I don't know, man. I respect you a lot for what you're working towards. It's worth like applauding, I think.
Well,
Snap.
yeah, wow. There's a bit of a vibration for me. I'm kind of like a spirit date today, so I'm happy to
Yeah,
be.
your spirit date.
Um, so it's
Like
just,
Julia Cameron's artist date, but you're like you're taking your spirit on a
yeah, my
date.
spirit on a date, or my spirit has been taken on a date. And I'm being, right, because it's just the world around me. facilitated this day. Um, and in connection to that, there's a few things, right? So one is that, I think I've done the Good Life workshop, what, 3 times now, right? You and I met on Clubhouse during the pandemic, and I'd never done anything quite like that before. Like that type of, like, kind of collective experience, even though it was exactly what I wanted to build, I'd never really done it, and I experienced it with you and a wonderful small group of people, and I was just immediately taken by the energy that is created when people come together in a space, right? A sacred space is really how I've started to see these spaces that we are holding, right? Meaning you, me, we. Like, just this idea of coming together and co-creating and building something together. And so, a lot of the alter ego exploration, as I got to know my alter ego and started to work at how to kind of turn it around, maybe, or push it out, expand it out, whatever that is, to others to be able to do that. It's like I saw you doing it. It was such a wonderful thing. And had the honor of actually facilitating Good Life 18, which was very special for me to be trusted, right? Trust is my word of the year right here on my sticky note. Whoop, whoop. Um, and whatever role, I guess I'd call it a role, I became an energy steward, and I think that's so much way to show up, um, is to just help steward and vibe vibe the energy a little bit, stoke it in the room, maybe even. Um,
So yeah,
we laugh. So let's celebrate friendship for a second. We laugh because during the winter run, like a co-facilitator in training, get to take on my own course. I was working part-time at a ski hill, and so I would come into the sessions that Sean was facilitating for my 3rd run through the course, and I would talk about stoking the vibe on a powder
hey,
tote.
Chance is bringing the stoke. There's 2 other people that appreciate in that group that appreciated the reference.
There
Could
was.
feel the stoke,
Yeah, it worked.
which is very different from the vibe in a lot of classrooms. You don't like go into a classroom and like experience the stoke. I guess sometimes sometimes people do. And yeah, I wanted to give props to Gail for the collective focus and putting that kind of collectiveness in the sense of how much we design and are aware of that liminal space, right? And I think that's another way I could sell what you're doing, Chance, or support, endorse what you're doing, is the sense that good facilitators create an alternative world where new things are possible that weren't possible before. There's a sense of like creating you said a sacred space where there is a opportunity for innovation or creativity in the space that I would say emerges based on the synergy that happens in the group, right? Like that emergent learning is what's so amazing for me. But I wanted to, I mean, there's like, thank you, Gail, for putting collective as the focus, because part of what we do is design, and we're aware of this like space where there isn't a hierarchy, and we don't compare what we do for a living, and we don't be like high or low on the points and the gold stars that we're giving out, or near or far from the facilitator, and who is doing what the facilitator wants and who's not, like all those being aware of those power dynamics. And one of the things you do as a facilitator is you just like disrupt when you go like, remember when one of the first Good Life sessions you were in, you gave a gift to the group that was that comic of the elves of the Good Life Mountain. We're like all emergent learning facilitators, and you're like, hey, I want to show you all something.
Yeah.
And we like show a picture of these like elves at Good Life Wisdom Mountain, I think you called it.
Yeah.
Like they're getting ready to, right? I don't know if you remember, but there was like a sense of awe. There was like this immediate, like, there was no hierarchy in the like, which wisdom elf are you? There was no like all the typical social markers that we use to navigate our pecking order, where none of that was there at all. It was this immediate, imaginative, spiritual, sacred place of like, wow, yeah, I get goosebumps thinking about it because I remember that was the vibe in the virtual room, right? And I think you do that really well. So I would say if you're watching this and you're curious about how someone might use imagination or cultivate some creative storytelling to add to your facilitative practice, check out what Chance is doing. And I should just plug that. The next Harness Your Hero starts next Wednesday, 8/13. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it goes for 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Sacred 5. What's up?
Yeah, wow, yeah, we talked about 5. So there's a few things. I mean, obviously, thank you for sharing the opportunity to get involved in what we're doing. But there's a couple of things that just are so, oh man, like I kind of have the chills because this collective is the focus. So people often ask like, what is the Viriverse, right? Like, what is it? And there's a little bit of this coyness, like, well, I don't know, what do you think it is? Like, do you have any ideas? And they're like, no, I have no idea, right? And it's fun because that's the whole point, right? Is it's like this there's this element of like exploration and it's a new world to explore. But there are a few things though that really like root into what I consider it to be or what others shared it to be that have helped me figure out what it is even, right? Because that's the big thing. It's we makes me better. Um, is that we describe the Viriverse as like a human mycelium, right? Or a collective intelligence sorts. And it went to another place with a wonderful new member of our community, Perennial Mystic, who basically just kind of very simply was like, it's like the Viriverse just kind of it exists like in this like connection between us. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what it is because the alter ego is allowing you to consider how you connect the world around you, right? And that's spirit come into that very easily, right? But so can what we've taken from what you share, the Good Life Course idea of flow, which we put into an acronym of PHL infinite W flow. Um, and I'll put it in the chat. Speaking of, wow, the perennial mystic.
What's up, Marley?
Oh my oh my goodness, that is wild timing. Oh my goodness, that's incredible. Yeah, well, synchronicity and all of the wonderful things. So so that's one, and then I wanted to circle back to something that you talked about with the eukaryotic cell. Is that the right?
I don't
Yeah.
know how to say it, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Glad you don't. I was afraid to make a fool of myself, but let's be fools together, friend. Let's do this. No, in that documentary I referenced, there's a moment where time slows down and you're looking at a cell and it kind of has this like heartbeat. And basically that like science still doesn't really fully understand how that comes to be, right? And I just the immensity of that is so powerful because it's completely unique in and of itself, which is maybe where we get into this like harness your hero. Your hero, you are a hero because you want to show up good in the world, you want to do good things, you want to be your best self. But to create life, like to truly create life and to truly share good with the world, you have to do it as a collective, right? You have to be a human mycelium of sorts. And again, have to, need to, I
yeah,
don't know.
that's oh yeah, that's you know, there's
But it's not absolute, right? None of these things are absolutes, but they're moments, they're energies. Um, there's power in harnessing this connection that we hold with each other, right?
absolutely, and yeah, I'm always just wary of the shoulds, but I appreciate that because I do think this is one of them that makes a big difference. We could say it reminds me of the thought experiment on honoring our friendship and honoring friendship in the whole. You know, I could give you $1 million, Chance. Say I give you $1 million, but on the condition that you never have a meaningful relationship in the rest of your life, and you basically have to go through the rest of your existence alone. You wouldn't be able to have any human connection.
Mm.
Would you want that $1,000,000? And answer, your wife may be watching this later, so no, I don't know.
Well,
That's
no,
bad.
she can't, right? Because it would be it wouldn't help her, right? I don't. I can take it and give it away to others, and then spend life alone. There is something compelling about that, as I miss with your little friend.
That's what that is. I guess. I mean, I'm gonna imagine it's interesting too because one of the debates in Buddhist philosophy and the lineages of different Buddhisms, plural, is this idea that how much do we work on ourselves, like the old school, like that's self work before you serve other people,
Mm,
or like serving other people is the self work. But I guess I somewhat digress, as I think what's most interesting for me here is this idea of the ego as an interface with the world, an interface and like faith, where I have an ego that enables me to interact with the world. And if my like a healthy ego sees my dependence, reliance, um, co-arising with my friends and with people who are doing cool work, and I want to support and help them in that work. I don't know, I just feel like I am a person, my ego, identifying as someone who wants to help my friends if I can. Help, whoops, who's someone who wants to contribute or nourish the people I'm engaging with. Like it's that sense of like why my word of the year is, maybe not why my word of the year is love, but just embodying, wanting to embody more of that love. So I guess I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying I'm saying that my mycelium cultivate. Thank you, Gail. That's the verb I've been using. And construction. We joked in our session, I'm wearing my work shirt that has like paint on it. This is like my workshop shirt in the sense of like building and constructing and doing this work in language, in our capacity to create and show up in a way that's beautiful.
uh,
And I guess that is where, for my part, where we might leave the conversation and look at beginning to exit here is to serve and contribute, or to hope, to be optimistic that what we might be doing might be contributing in a nutritive way to people that we can't even see, or to future versions of ourselves that we don't necessarily know. So, and I love the idea that our egos might be more dynamic and creative, and that we might do some alter ego work that helps us interface with our reality and with each other. And I see you do that in the way you facilitate spaces. And
mm.
yeah, thanks. And thanks for being willing to jump on Experimental Substack Live. This has been really fun.
Yeah, yeah. Could be more. Exiting. I think honestly, in the space of being of service and support, I would invite everybody to just sit in stillness for a moment
Hmm.
together. And as I welcome us back from that, I would say that there's something about friendship, right? There's this sort of escape to it. There's like endless nature to it, and like best friend, you might fall out of touch for a little while and then you get back together and it's like nothing ever changed kind of stuff. Time timeless me, timeless we sort of things. And I just so value that in life. And I think the higher quality the friendships are, the more power is there. And I think that's so much of what it is we're inviting people to join in is to, you know, just be and do stuff, and good things will come from it, even if it's just a breath, a pause, an ability to vent, whatever it may be. So thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah, man. When you said the timeless me, I was like, I don't. I was like, it's a timeless I, like the I and I are like the timeless core, and then a timely me. So like the ego that shows up is like reminds me of Jordan Gruber's work on this the Symphony of Selves, like the right mind, right time that I can have. I can step into an ego that helps me interface and do this work, and that kind of like like I feel like that courage for me of not just being like, oh yeah, it's all like yay yay. It's like no, we are standing for this. We will not tolerate that, and
That's
we
right.
welcome this.
Yeah.
And that sense of like space holding and courage setting. It's exciting, man.
Fun,
It's
quick voice, a little bit coming out. Woo!
yeah, right.
A reimaginer. Boom.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. And the sense of faith and trust, your word, combined with love and cherishing gratitude. And yeah, appreciate. Maybe we can experiment with any more of this. Thank you. Thank you, Marley. It really was awesome that you came in when you did. That was probably the peak highlight from the session today. Give
Yeah.
anyone else a chance to. I don't know if we can invite other people in. It looks like we can invite other co-hosts in. Or anything anyone wants to say in the chat before we close. I don't know, Marley, if you want me to try to invite you in as an experiment,
I kind of like, yeah.
or
Yeah.
Gail, or
Anyone.
sure, if anyone wants to pop in and say hi before we close.
Like a throwback to the clubhouse station.
I know, right? It kind of feels like that. I was kind of like, okay, before we close the space, does anybody want to say anything? All right, I'll be closing this room down in 5, 4, 3, 2. If you want to learn more about Chance's work with Harness Your Hero, if you want to join a mycelial network of alter ego building of good makers, check out Harness Your Hero. Starts next Wednesday, August 13th. So 9 days to get in on that group. I would recommend it to anyone that does work in a service orientation with other human beings, and anyone that wants to invigorate a sense of potentiality and connection with other people. What's up, Zach at Substack?
Stoke the vibe. Everybody wants to stoke the vibe.
Yes. Yeah, if you want to stoke the vibe of what you're working on.
Oh, thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Great conversation, and thank everybody for listening. And whoop whoop.
Whoop, 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 whoop. All right. Peace. May the power of love and trust be with you, and we'll see y'all later. Thanks, Gail. Thanks, Joan. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Marley. Thanks, Substack, for doing what you're doing. And until next time, I'm gonna drop my number in the chat. Call me. Just joking. All right. I'll see you guys later.
On the
Peace.